Okay, I don't know how much it's going to let me record, but I'm going to yap until I can't yap anymore. I am drinking a coffee with a ton of Kahlua and Irish cream in it, so I'm going to get more drunk and hyper as this goes on. The audio quality is not good, so I'm going to try to talk slow so that it doesn't get like distorted or whatever. But there's a lot to Lego Ninjago. So first of all, it came out when I was a kid. It came out when I was, I want to say like 9, 10-ish years old. And the first thing that ever came out for Lego Ninjago is the pilot season. The pilot season is 4 11-minute episodes that aired on Cartoon Network. Um, when it aired, and in a lot of subsequent airings, it was paired up episodes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 into two 22-minute episodes with ads. That's two 30-minute time slots each. So when I first watched it, that's how it was presented to me. I spent pretty much an hour straight watching it on Cartoon Network. Something really interesting about the pilot season, it's not actually a season, not a numbered season. But something really interesting about it is that it's fucking nowhere. It's really hard to find. The first 2 episodes are on Lego's website. You can watch it there. But for some reason, they put the 3rd and 4th episodes in a different format that's no longer supported. And so it is on the Lego website, but it doesn't work. So I ended up finding it on TikTok, of all places. Really hard to find, but it's what I have the most memories of growing up watching, because I essentially watched it when I was a kid and was like, oh, this fucks. It opens at like a blacksmith shop, and we have Kai and Nia working at a blacksmith shop that is called the Four Weapons. We learned through a little bit of exposition that it was their father's blacksmith shop. It doesn't tell us where their father is, but he's not there. It doesn't tell us what's going on with that, but the father's not there, but it was his shop. And Kai is very bad at blacksmithing. He's trying to take over the shop and is failing at it. We get a quick scene, and by the way, this is a very like low, I don't know how to explain this. It's like a historical setting. It's not based off of any one Asian culture. It's kind of a jumble of a bunch of different ones. But it's like they have the, what is it called? Where it's like the square buildings with the roofs that kind of like come out like this. Those like sort of Japanese temple style buildings. And it's a blacksmith shop. Like people are wearing like rice hats and farming. It's a very like historical setting, kind of like fantasy setting. Which does come into play later. An old man comes up who we later learn is Sensei Wu. I didn't bring his minifigure in here, or I'd hold it up. He's got a rice cone hat and like a long white beard. And Kai's really rude to me. He's like, look, if you're not going to buy something, get the F out. And Wu is like, well, I was looking for something, but it seems I didn't find it. And he leaves. And then a bunch of motorcycles and monster trucks come out of fucking nowhere. Which as a kid, if you've got a historical like Japanese village and then a monster truck being driven by skeletons appears, you're immediately hooked. So all these skeletons come in on like motorcycles and like monster trucks and shit and like a helicopter and attack this village. I don't think we ever get a name for the village, but they do attack the village. A fly went into my drink. Oh, way too much booze. They come into the village and they're attacking, and the general, whose name is Samukai, who has a really cool minifigure. It's like a custom head mold that has like this badass spine that comes down his back. And then his head actually opens up, like his mouth opens, and he has 4 arms. That's what's really notable about him, is 4 skeleton arms. And I keep calling them skeletons. They're actually not skeletons. They're called Skullkin, Skulin. They're skeletons, but they're just called Skullkin. Their general, Samukai, is like, find it. It's in the blacksmith shop. And Kai puts on like some samurai equipment and is going to like fight the skeletons off. And it's a big battle between these skeletons who are trying to get something out of this blacksmith shop. The old man comes up and turns into a giant golden tornado and knocks a bunch of the skeletons away in this big battle, which is the first time we see Spinjitzu. The name of the show is Ninjago, Masters of Spinjitzu. Really good example of showing and not telling, because Ninjago is really bad about just having a character tell you a bunch of exposition, like tell you what's going on. This doesn't happen here. Wu does Spinjitzu, and then like way later is like, oh, by the way, that thing I did is a martial art called Spinjitzu. I'm going to train you how to do it. So there's this big fight. Eventually it kind of comes down between like Kai and Wu and Samukai. And they find two skeletons who I think's name are like Whiplash and Frackjaw. They find a map in the blacksmith shop that Kai didn't even know exists. They get the map. As they're leaving, a monster truck has this giant claw thing. They blast the claw at Nia, grab Nia, yank her up onto the monster truck, and drive off. And so Nia's kidnapped, and that's like the inciting incident that gets Kai to become a ninja. So basically, Kai is only in this to get his sister back, but Wu's like, you are gonna fight these guys. I'm gonna train you how, and you have a larger destiny. And Kai's like, I don't care about that. I'm just gonna get my sister back. So Wu then tells Kai a bunch of exposition stuff that happened before the start of the pilot. Ninjago is a really good example of soft world building. Basically, they do world building as they need it for the story, and if it doesn't fit the story later on, they ignore that they ever wrote it. Typically, I like hard world building better, but as I'm getting older, I'm enjoying soft world building a bit more. One of the most famous soft world buildings is Harry Potter. Just like, oh, we need this magic thing to serve this purpose in the plot, and so they make it, and then later it's like, well, this would not serve the plot, so we're going to pretend like it doesn't exist. But a lot of the stuff in the pilot is pretty consistent. The first thing is this stuff that Wu gives exposition on. Thousands of years ago, a guy named the first Spinjitzu... Oh, hey, you just texted me back. No, I'm not splitting it into parts. Fuck you. Anyway, this guy named the first Spinjitzu Master. He's never given an actual name. They always just called him First Spinjitzu Master. Thousands and thousands of years ago, he used the 4 elemental weapons to create the world of Ninjago. Ninjago is also the name of their world, by the way. Like, the place that they're in, not just the show. He uses the 4 elemental weapons to create the world, and he has 2 sons. Those sons are Wu, Master Wu, and another son named Garmadon. He teaches them both Spinjitzu, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, and it doesn't go into why, at least in the pilot season, it talks more on it later, but eventually, Garmadon is touched by evil. And he is touched by evil for a long time and still manages to be friends with Wu and like do good things. But at some point his evil boils over and he decides he's going to take the 4 elemental weapons for himself and use them to take control of all of Ninjago. And Wu is kind of explaining to Kai that before the first Spinjitzu Master died, he hid the 4 elemental weapons away, gave each one of them a guardian to protect it, and then gave the map to someone he trusted. And Wu implies that that someone he trusted was Kai's father, and that the reason Wu had come to the blacksmith was to get that map, because he knew the Skullkin were about to come for it. And so he explains that Garmadon wanted the weapons and tried to get them, and Wu said no, and this was their big fight. And it ended with Wu banishing his brother Garmadon to the underworld. When the pilot episodes released, Wu made it sound like this happened thousands of years ago. This eventually got retconned into being about 10 years ago that Garmadon was banished. So now Wu is like, okay, Garmadon is using the Skullkin, who are from the underworld. They have the map. He's going to try and get the 4 golden weapons. and take over Ninjago, and you have to train to be able to stop them. And Kai's like, I don't care about that. Whatever. I just want to get my sister back. And so a lot of Wu's best scenes are him giving these like object lessons to his students, to the ninja. And the first one given is at the beginning of Kai's training, where they're in the monastery at the top of the hill, and like the floor retracts and like this giant moving mechanical obstacle course comes up, and Wu is like, you're gonna do this obstacle course, and Kai's like, the hell I am, because it looks really hard. And Wu is like, not only are you gonna do this, but you're gonna be timed. Wu says, you have until I finish my tea to finish this obstacle course. And then he straight up just goes, today you have failed. Tomorrow you will try again. And this really bugs Kai, right? Because first of all, Kai didn't even have a chance to move, and Wu had finished his tea. Wu just like drank it, like slammed it back and was done. So it's hard obstacle course, got to do it in literally like seconds. And then also, Kai wants to get his kidnapped sister back, and Wu is like, yeah, you have to finish this training. You get to try it once every day. So what this teaches Kai, because Kai is a big hothead, he doesn't like to put a lot of work into things. As we saw when he was in the blacksmith shop, he was a terrible blacksmith, and he didn't like to work at getting better at it. And so what this kind of forced Kai to do was realize that if he just tried it once every day, he was never going to do it. I think it shows like 7 to 10-ish attempts. It's implied that it's like a week or two of work that is shown in this montage. So Kai's like, okay, so I obviously have to work on it outside of just when he's drinking his fucking tea. Gets better at it, eventually does it. Wu is like, good job, student. Rest, your final test will come tomorrow. And Kai's like, another test. He goes to bed, he's getting ready for bed, and he hears something outside. He goes outside, and there's 3 ninja dressed in all black. And there's this big fight between all of them. Kai fends off all 3 of them. And finally, Wu comes out and is like, congratulations, you 4. You all passed the test. And they all take their masks off, and we get to see the 4 ninja for the first time. I call these ninja the core 4. Even though eventually there will be many, many, many more ninja after this, these were the first 4. So Wu does spinjitzu and changes the color of all their outfit. Originally, they were all wearing black. And he explains that we have Kai, the red ninja, destined to be master of fire. Zane, the blue ninja, destined to be master of lightning. Zane, the white ninja, destined to be master of ice. And then one of the best, like most joked about bits from the entire show is it pans over to Cole, and Cole's like, hey, I'm still black, because they were all in black costumes before. He's like, hey, I'm still black, which is just a funny line. Cole is the black ninja destined to be master of earth. So they're going to go on a mission to get these weapons, and Wu basically is like, okay, there's guardians, watch out for them. Wu knows where they are. He was just getting the map so the Skullkin wouldn't have it, but Wu knows where the weapons are. He's like, so don't use the weapons, they're too powerful, and as we get more of them, do not let them come into contact with each other. No mortal can hold the power of all 4 weapons at once. Don't even let them come close to each other. So the first one they go after is the Scythe of Quakes, the weapon of earth. The Skullkin are already there. They're trying to excavate it. The ninja sneaky stealth in, managed to get to it. Actually managed to sneak their way in and get to it. They pull the weapon out. I should also mention when they first meet that their character traits are kind of revealed. Kai's already been established as kind of a hothead, but Jay is established as an inventor. This gets phased out in later seasons, and I'll talk more on that as we get into why this gets phased out. But he was originally introduced as the inventor of the group. As the seasons go on, this gets wicked phased out, and he becomes more of like the unserious, jokey, kind of like sarcastic class clown of the group. Zane is established as being a little weird, but having a really good sense of things. Really what he is just fucking autistic. He doesn't get social cues. Everybody will like laugh and joke and even make jokes at his expense, and he'll just be standing there like, oh, was that a joke? like he doesn't get humor or emotion, but when he sees these other three people who are his friends doing it, he's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do what you're doing, because he wants to fit in. But he has like this kind of weird, like, it's set up in this season as being mystical. It's later revealed to not be mystical at all, but he's got kind of like a weird sense for things. And Cole is introduced, if you watch it now, Cole is introduced as being firm and steady like the earth. If you ask anybody on the internet, they will say that it's a Mandela effect. I am convinced that the actual original recording was different, and a lot of us remember the original recording, but they changed it because they got rid of the plot point. But I swear to God, on the first original airing of the pilot season, Wu called him the leader. They said he was supposed to be the leader. I think they changed it because in the first actual season, they made someone else the leader. But now if you watch it, it doesn't even say that, and people say it's a Mandela effect and that he was never the leader. I swear to God he was the leader. Because he, in this mission to get the side of the Quakes, he's giving them orders. He's telling them what to do. And Kai explicitly doesn't do it. That like shows off his hot-headedness, that he just like kind of rushes into it. So they all chase after him. Anyway. They get the side of the Quakes, they pick it up, and an earthquake starts happening, and then they're like, didn't they say there was a guardian? And a fucking dragon comes out of nowhere. Before this, Cole had been established as being scared of dragons. A fucking earth dragon comes up, they're all running away, they're not being sneaky, all the skeletons are like, hey, it's the ninja, and they got the thing! And they're running, and so like they're literally running at an army of skeletons away from a dragon. And Jay, as much of a clown as he is the first to figure out Spinjitzu. He sees they're all fighting their way through the Skullkin, and Jay like sees a pattern in their attacks and is like, hey, it's just like the obstacle course. And he does it, and then Spinjitzu happens, and his is like blue and lightning. And they all follow suit and do Spinjitzu with him. So, interesting factoid, Jay is the first of the core four to figure out Spinjitzu. Anyway, they eventually get out. They get out by Kai, not Cole. Kai uses the Scythe of Quakes to strike the ground, cause an earthquake, knocks all of the Skullkin back, and they run out. And Wu admonishes him. He's like, I told you not to use the weapon. That was really foolish. Your whole, like, why did you rush in there without your team? And Kai's like, I don't care about this team. I don't care about the tradition. I am just trying to get my sister. The next episode comes up. This is now episode 3 at this point, and it just kind of gives a quick montage of them getting the shurikens of ice and running away from a dragon, and the nunchucks of lightning and running away from a lightning dragon. It just kind of does a really quick montage of them getting those two elemental weapons. They're sleeping in the woods after getting the nunchucks of lightning, and Kai sees a vision of his sister. She's like, you have to come save me, come save me. And so Kai runs off into the woods after this vision of his sister. Doesn't wake anybody up, doesn't bring anybody with him. It's very sophomore year Fabian whenever he goes to fight that pirate, and Zach is like, you're not going to go get anybody, or Kai just runs the fuck off. Once again, not thinking before he acts. Love you, Kai. Kai's one of my favorite ninja. He's actually one of everybody's favorite ninja, but... and Kai ends up being led into the Temple of Fire. Led into the Temple of Fire by this vision. And the Sword of Fire is there. It's like a katana with a dragon head. It's really cool. And Garmadon's shadow comes up on the wall. Like just a shadow form of Garmadon, who we still haven't actually seen at this point. And is like, you're going to draw the sword for me and bring me the sword. And Kai's like, no the fuck I'm not. You're the bad guy. And Garmadon's like, I have your sister in a cage over a pit of lava. Draw the sword for me, or I'm just going to dunk her. Like, draw the sword for me, and I will give you your sister back. And Kai's like, well, that's all I cared about anyway. And he fucking draws the sword alone. Garmadon then, in like this weird shadow form, is like trying to take the blade from him. And Kai can't fight him because it's just a shadow. And finally, Wu jumps in. Sensei Wu jumps in and does, somehow with Lego hands, does like a shadow puppet bird and makes the shadow on the wall and uses his shadow puppet to fight Garmadon off. And Garmadon is like setting off the temple and is like bring me the sword of fire, or I'm going to bring the whole thing down and kill your student and kill Nia. And Wu is like, if it is what must be done. And he gets on a rock with the sword of fire and floats down a lava river into the underworld. And then Garmadon like collapses that hole behind him so that the ninja cannot follow Wu into the underworld. And I think also the ninja got attacked by Skullkin, and so the Skullkin managed to get the other weapons. I think that's how somehow he ends up with all four, and Wu is in the underworld. And so the other ninja are really mad at Kai. They're like, you fucking idiot, why did you do that? Now we can't get into the underworld and rescue Wu or your sister, and they have all the weapons. Like, you screwed the whole thing up for literally everyone. And they drop some like random ass lore that dragons are able to go into different dimensions, which, again, soft world building. Ninjago like literally makes lore as they need it. But this is actually pretty consistent that dragons can go between worlds, all the way up to the most recent season still releasing. That's pretty consistent. So they end up going back to the dragons that were protecting the weapons and being like, hey, we know you were protecting the weapons. That's what we were trying to do. Now the bad guy has it. Give us a lift. And they go and tame the respective dragons, and they each ride a dragon into the underworld. It's badass. They're sneaking through the underworld. They get stopped by skeletons, and they do the Tornado of Creation, which is a move that Wu had told them that they would probably never be able to do it. And again, soft world building, they almost never do it again. They do it in season 1, in season 10, and then it literally never fucking happens again. You could say it's because it's really difficult to do, but whatever. They do it here in the pilot season. They're being attacked, have nothing to do. They basically all do spinjitzu and all combine their tornadoes into one big tornado. And they build a giant bony Ferris wheel that traps all the skeletons in the little cages on a Ferris wheel. And then they keep running to go find Wu. They find him. If it's cutting, that's because I'm pausing the recording to drink my coffee. It's not glitching or anything. But anyway, they find Wu, Garmadon, Nia, and Samukai all in kind of one spot in the underworld. They get Nia out, they are with Wu, but all the golden weapons are being brought before Lord Garmadon. And Samukai is like, you idiot, I can't believe you thought we were going to work for you, Garmadon. I wanted the golden weapons for myself. And he's got 4 arms, so he puts one of the golden weapons in each hand. He's got the Scythe of Quakes, the Sword of Fire, second arms, Shurikens of Ice, Nunchucks of Lightning. And Wu is like, no, you fool, no one can hold all 4 at once. And Samukai fucking like dies. Like, he gets obliterated. He makes cameos in later seasons, but like in the episode, he like literally fucking like is disintegrated by the power of the weapons. And Lord Garmadon is like, you fool. I knew you would betray me and take the weapons for yourself. Now you've been destroyed by their power, but unleashed their power for me. And so basically when the 4 weapons came together, they made a portal that led out of the underworld because Garmadon had been trapped there for 10 years. And Garmadon knew they would do that, but he knew that whoever did that would die. And so he kind of like counted on Samukai betraying on him to open this portal for him. And so Garmadon just walks out the portal and fucking leaves. And Wu is like, no, Garmadon is back in Ninjago. But the good news is he didn't take the weapons with him. So the ninja do have the golden weapons again. And that's how the pilot ends. Overall, one of the most solid installments in the Ninjago series. It sets up Garmadon as a villain for the rest of the show, because obviously you don't want to wrap that arc up in your pilot. But as we talk about the later seasons, we'll find that even though Garmadon is one of the most well-beloved villains, he's almost never the main villain of the show. And when he is, he's kind of bad at it. So season 1, the first full official season, opens. I'm going to start blowing through the seasons more quickly now because there's no way I can spend this long talking about each season. But the pilot season just has a lot of the initial lore dropped into it. Season 1 opens with them all playing video games, and Wu is like, Garmadon is still out there. You need to be training. And they're like, we're great at being ninja. Who cares? Turns out when they do have to fight, they actually really suck at it. But anyway, finally they get news of Lord Garmadon. This is months after the pilot, by the way. So it's been a few months hearing nothing about Garmadon. But they get word that Garmadon has been spotted at a place called Jamanakai Village, which is a place that they come to a lot in the first few seasons. Eventually, they kind of stop going there. But it's just a standard, like, little village, Japanese village. And so, Lord Garmadon's there. And they get on their dragons, they fly out. And what they find is a little kid going, "Mwahaha, it is I, Lloyd Garmadon." And the ninja are like, "Lloyd Garmadon? We were trying to find Lord Garmadon." Turns out Garmadon has a son. This is why they retconned the time between their first fight and the pilot. Because originally it was thousands of years, but then they were like, well, if he's got a 10-year-old son, obviously fucking not. Anyway, so this little kid is running around the village like, "Give me all your candy, mwahahaha." They're trying to be evil, and then they're like, "You bozo." They give him a wedgie and hang him on a flagpole, kind of make fun of him, and then dip. Lloyd fucking hates this. He feels humiliated. He just wants to be a villain. And so he stumbles upon an ancient tomb, opens it, and there's a bunch of snake people in there. We later learn that they're called the Serpentine, and that they're one of the 5 tribes of Serpentine called the Hypnobrai. They're called this. These Serpentine, the Hypnobrai, are blue, and they're called this because their like special power is that their eyes go all swirly and they can hypnotize people. So the general of the Hypnobrai, I don't remember his name, tries to hypnotize Lloyd. And accidentally, like, looks at himself in the reflection and hypnotizes himself. And so he ends up being under Lloyd's command. And so Lloyd now has the general of an ancient race of evil snake people under his control and is like, "Oh yes, the ninja didn't think I was a threat before. Just you wait." And he starts doing a bunch of evil stuff with the snake people. He's having them like build him a tree fort and like help take candy from the village and like a bunch of weird stuff. The ninja try to stop him, hijinks ensue, yada yada yada. Eventually a different Hypnobrai named Scales challenges that hypnotized general for leadership. He ends up winning a trial by combat. Scales is the new general and is like, "All right, it's time to kill that little kid." And so Lloyd like dips the fuck out. But he manages to get a map of a bunch of other tombs. And so he's like, "I know what I'll do. In ancient times, these different Serpentine tribes were at war with each other. So I'll go find a different Serpentine tribe and lead them into war against the Hypnobrai and take care of this." So he ends up awakening the Fangpires, which are now red Serpentine people. And their special ability is that they have like fangs. And when they bite something, it turns them into like a serpentine, basically. They don't use it on people very often because Ninjago doesn't like to have like explicit violence. And so like biting someone would be a little bit of a no-go. But they use it a lot on like inanimate objects. Like they'll bite a car or a bus or a helicopter and it'll turn into a living sentient snake car. It's like really weird. So anyway, the leader of the Fangpires, his name is Fangtum, who has 2 heads, is like, "Yeah, absolutely, we're going to help you smack around the Hypnobrai." So they go to war, and then the general of the Fangpires is like, "Scales, you're in charge now. What's up, dude?" Turns out that Scales, the new Hypnobrai general, and this Fangpire general were like college roommates. And so they're just like, "Peace treaty? Yeah." And then they turn on Lloyd, and Lloyd once again is like, just bounces the fuck out. The ninja are still scrambling to deal with this like rampant serpentine problem that's becoming a thing, and also like have kind of forgotten about Garmadon. So Lloyd goes and finds another serpentine tomb, which has a purple snake. I actually have a minifigure of this one. It's not with me or I'd show you, but I think I sent you a picture of it. But it's the purple one with the long-ass neck. He is an anacondrae. His name is Parthor P. Chumsworth, and he explains that he's the last anacondrae left. There's like a bunch of snake bones in his tomb. And he lays it on thick with Lloyd. He's like, all I really wanted was a friend. And Lloyd, being a little lonely kid, is like, hey, me too. And so Lloyd is kind of manipulated by Pythor into thinking that they're going to be best friends. And there's this awesome little montage of them like taking candy and like building forts and doing a bunch of silly stuff. Yada, yada, yada. And Pythor is like, why don't we get the other two tribes, get them under our control, and then we'll really stick it to those ninja and those other snakes who didn't want to be your friend. And so Lloyd's like, yeah, sounds great, not realizing that Pythor is manipulating him into releasing these serpentine. And the ninja are like still trying to play catch up. Like they're getting to these tombs, but like moments too late to stop Lloyd and Pythor. So they release the other two tribes, which are kind of only mentioned briefly. There's the Constricti, which are orange and black, and their special power is digging. Even though later it's kind of said that all serpentine like digging. I think what it is, though, is more that all serpentine are just good at like underground construction and infrastructure, like how snakes burrow. But like the Constricti can like do it like that. Like they're like living drills. They can do it quickly and like burrow like in combat. And then the Venomari, which the other serpentine figures, the green ones that I showed you, those are Venomari. They're green, and their thing is they spit venom at you, and if it hits you, you have like really bad hallucinations. Again, like all their powers are like not really violent. They're kind of all just like meant to incapacitate. Oh, and Pythor, the Anacondrae, his power is turning invisible, and in this season, it's implied that it's like the Anacondrae power to turn invisible. Later in another season, they kind of explain that that was just a thing Pythor could do, and that Anacondrae actually are just like really resilient and strong and good warriors. And that's their thing. They're just like really tanky and hit really hard. But Pythor can turn invisible. And they can swallow things. And season 1 and season 2 takes a very like episodic and comedic approach to it. There's a great scene where Cole reunites with his dad, who is a performer, and Cole had been lying to his dad, saying that he was at a performing art school. He wasn't. He was training to be a ninja. And they have to enter like this talent show to get a trophy that has a magical artifact that Pythor wanted on it. And Pythor like swallows alive one of the judges to like rig the competition. And he takes his fake beard off later. He's like, it was me, Pythor. And Cole's like, yeah, dude, we fucking know. You're a 9-foot tall snake. The fake beard was not helping. Really funny. Anyway, so they release these other tribes, and then they go to war with the original two tribes. And they pull the rug out from Lloyd. Pythor's like, I was never your friend. Pythor unites all 5 tribes, which hasn't been done since before the Serpentine Wars in ancient times. And they decide that they are going to release the Great Devourer. This is some insane lore. The Great Devourer is a giant snake. It is a giant snake that can eat everything in its path. And they worship it like a deity. In season 1, they kind of implied that the Great Devourer is the origin of the Serpentine people, that the Serpentine are her progeny. Later, it's never explicitly said, but it's more and more implied that that's not the case, that instead they just worship her, but they don't originate from her. However, there are races that do. It's just not the Serpentine. Kind of weird, and it's never fully clarified that, but I think that's where soft world building is at its best, where it kind of leaves those gaps for you to make inferences about the world, because Serpentine come back time and time again throughout the entire series in different ways and forms, and it's really fun to kind of theorize about how like biologically they're related to each other. But these 5 tribes are definitely like related to each other on like a biological like dichotomy level. So Pythor's like, we're going to release the Great Devourer because during the Serpentine Wars, the humans locked us in all these underground tombs that we've been in for thousands of years. And so to get back at them, we're going to unleash the Great Devourer, which is going to eat everything in its path, and then the humans will have to flee underground, and they'll be the ones locked in tombs. Brilliant! And so they find this prophecy that says only when the 5 Serpentine tribes unite and they locate the 4 fang blades, can the Great Devourer be awoken. So Pythor has united the tribes, and now he's going to go try and find the fang blades. Hijinks ensue. Wu is really spooked by this plan. And he explains that the reason he is spooked goes back to his original fight with Garmadon, back before the pilot season even happened. And actually goes back thousands of years before that. I mentioned that in the pilot, Wu just mentioned that Garmadon had been touched by evil. Wu now elaborates that the thing that made Garmadon evil was a bite from the Great Devourer, back when the Great Devourer was still the size of a regular snake. Because it gets bigger the more it eats, and so now it's like massive. But when it was the size of a regular snake, it bit Garmadon on the hand as a child. And Wu, like, it kind of does a flashback. They're basically like playing with swords, like their dad's sword. And Wu accidentally throws one over the wall of the monastery and is scared that their dad will be mad at him for losing the sword. And so Garmadon, being the good older brother he is, says, don't worry, I'll go over the wall and get the sword. And when he bends down to pick it up, the Great Devourer bites him and introduces evil into his heart that festers over hundreds of years, eventually culminating in the fight that leads to him being banished to the underworld. So Wu is spooked by this. He doesn't like that the Great Devourer may come back because it's what destroyed his only family. So he goes into a mystical tea shop and gets an order. He gets an order of what he calls the Traveler's Tea. He asks the woman running the shop for Traveler's Tea, and she says, don't you know Traveler's Tea is very dangerous? And he's like, I know. And he uses it, and the Traveler's Tea opens a portal, and he goes through the portal. And so the ninja are kind of alone for a little bit. Like, it's just the 4 ninja and Nia, who is not a ninja at this point. I actually need to talk about Nia in a second. But anyway, so they're kind of like trying to stop them from getting the Fang Blades on their own. And it's later shown that Wu went to a different realm called the Realm of Madness, which is where Garmadon ended up after he left the underworld in the pilot. And he catches Garmadon up and says, look, man, I know that you want to rule Ninjago, but this is bad. The Serpentine Wars are happening again, and they're trying to unleash the Great Devourer. And Garmadon, even though he's evil, he doesn't like that he's evil. He recognizes that he was forced into evil. And so he kind of wants his vengeance. He's like, oh, the thing that made me this way? Yeah, we'll do a temporary truce. And so eventually they come out of the Realm of Madness and join back up with the ninja, and Garmadon's there, and he's going to like help them fight the Serpentine. And this is what I mean by Garmadon is not really a villain for a long ass time after the pilot, because like, what the fuck do you mean he's on the ninja's team? You set him up as the main villain. Anyway, I'm not complaining because the Serpentine are genuinely some of the best villains in the entire show. So I do like the show. But anyway, I need to talk about Nia because for literally this entire season, like even when it was just the Hypnobra that were released, there was a mystery character named Samurai X. He had this big ass mech and like a samurai helmet and like twin katanas, and was like this really badass samurai that kept their like face hidden, was kind of like a Batman type character, like vigilante, and would just every once in a while like pop in, save the day, show the ninja up, and then dip. And the ninja really fucking hated Samurai X. They're like, who does he think he is? Stealing our thunder, being a better hero than us? Because they spent all these fucking months not training. Anyway, eventually Kai learns that Nia is Samurai X, and Nia's like, look, I'm tired of being the damsel in distress, and you won't let me into your boys' club. Please let me have this. Don't tell the other guys. And so Kai's like, I hate that you're doing this. I don't want you to put yourself in harm's way, but I'll respect your wishes. I won't tell the other ninja. Eventually, they all find out that Nia is Samurai X, but I just needed to mention that at this point in the story, Nia's not a ninja, but she is a samurai. I'll talk more about Nia in later, more Nia-focused seasons. I have a lot of opinions on Nia. She is my favorite, but... So, they do this whole thing where they're trying to get the Fang Blades. Of course, they fuck it up. Pythor gets all the Fang Blades. Wu and Garmadon try to stop him. Doesn't fucking work. The Great Devourer gets unleashed. The Great Devourer comes up through the thing and swallows Wu and Pythor. Like, Wu and Pythor literally get swallowed by the Great Devourer. So they're gone. The Great Devourer is unleashed. It is just the 4 ninja, Lloyd, who, by the way, after realized he was being tricked by Pythor, Lloyd joins up with the ninja. So Lloyd, Garmadon, and Nia, Samurai X. It's just them. Wu is gone, and the Serpentine are still there. But when the Great Devourer gets unleashed, they're all literally like, "Oh, the Great Devourer's gonna eat us too. We didn't think this through." And so all the Serpentine go back into their tombs and lock themselves back underground. It's very funny. They had this whole plan and it backfired so spectacularly on them. And they were literally just like, that was really dumb. Anyway, so the Great Devour is unleashed and we're into the finale of the season. I am going to back up and talk about a couple of plot points from the very beginning of this season because they are relevant. The first one is you might be thinking, hey, they're dragons. Again, soft world building, if it doesn't serve the plot of that particular season, they get rid of it. At least they explain where the dragons go on this one, because they did fly them to Jumanakai Village in the first episode, but they explain that the dragons need to shed their scales or whatever, and so they fly off somewhere to go shed their scales and molt. It is later implied that they went to the first realm, which is a thing that is important in seasons 8 and 9, but not yet. Anyway, so the dragons left really early on, and the vehicles that I've been showing you, the sets that I have, those weapons, it's the golden weapons of Spinjitzu literally turn into those vehicles. So Jay swings the nunchucks of lightning and it makes that cool blue fighter jet. So that was a plot point. A second plot point is after Wu goes to the Realm of Madness with the Traveler's Tea, they accidentally find this prophecy of his that he had kept hidden from them. This prophecy that one ninja was destined to become the Green Ninja, who would ultimately face evil in the final fight, and it would be their destiny to stop evil once and for all and restore the balance. And they find this, and they all think they're supposed to be the Green Ninja. All four of them are like, well, obviously I'm the Green Ninja because I'm the best. And that's what the whole series is kind of about. And there's all this stuff about well, no, I'm the Green Ninja. No, I'm the Green Ninja. Yada, yada, yada. We catch up. Pythor betrays Lloyd. Lloyd is now under the care of the ninja, which they're not really happy about. But it's Wu's nephew. Because if you think about that family tree, if it's Garmadon's son, then yeah, it's Wu's nephew. So Wu tells the ninja, no, this kid has not had a parent figure in his life for 10 years. He is not a bad kid. He is just misguided. You are going to let him in, basically. You're going to watch over him. And they don't like it, but the ninja are like, okay, Wu, because you're saying to do it, we'll respect your wish. So there's all this chase over getting the Fang Blades, and there's this one mission where they're stuck in the original Fire Temple, where the Sword of Fire was in the pilot. And lava is raining down on them, and Kai and Lloyd are stuck in there. And there's all this fight, and Kai finally has his big brain moment. He was like, I'd realized I'm not the Green Ninja. Lloyd is. And so Kai has because the whole season, Kai really lays it on thick with he thinks he's the Green Ninja. He thinks that's what he's destined for. He's obviously the best. He is the Green Ninja. He kicks on people no, I am the Green Ninja. And he has this moment where he's like, no, it's not meant to be. This kind of moment of growth where he's like, no, it's not me. It's Lloyd. Lloyd is going to be the one to face evil in the final fight. And so he has this moment where he rescues Lloyd, and he kind of gets on his knees and is like, Lloyd, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make sure you grow up to be the Green Ninja you're supposed to be. And so they put the golden weapons in front of him because the prophecy says that the weapons will react to the Green Ninja. They put it in front of him. They glow and react. And Lloyd, this fucking 12-year-old kid, realizes he's supposed to be the Green Ninja. Which is crazy because that means, according to that prophecy, the final fight's going to be between him and his dad. So Lloyd's a kid, and during some of these shows, they show him kind of trying to train Lloyd. So the Great Devourer comes back, attacks Ninjago City. And so the core four, Lloyd, Garmadon, and Nia as Samurai X are trying to fight it. They do eventually realize there's a weak point on the Great Devourer's forehead, but none of them can get up there to do it. All the ninja get incapacitated, the Samurai X mech gets destroyed. Lloyd is flying a dragon because remember how I mentioned that the dragon left earlier in the season? They come back as one big dragon with 4 heads. Badass. Goddamn Ninjago fucks. So Lloyd is riding around on an ultra dragon trying to do it. Can't do it. He's not properly trained. He's 12 years old. Even with a dragon, he can't really do it. Finally, Garmadon is like, hey, dog. Oh, I forgot to mention, whenever Wu found Garmadon in the Realm of Madness, Garmadon has 4 arms now. That's why he went to the Realm of Madness, was to get the power to have 4 arms so he could eventually have the power to hold all 4 weapons. So Garmadon tells the ninjas, like, look, I can get to that weak spot, but I'm going to need all the golden weapons to do it. And they're all like, no, abso-fucking-lutely, we're not giving you all 4 golden weapons. And they're eventually like, yeah, it's the only thing we can do. And they give Garmadon all 4 golden weapons. Motherfuckers. Anyway, so Garmadon dips, and they're all like, that fucking clown, I can't believe we let him trick us like that. They're trying to figure out what to do. And suddenly it pans up to Garmadon on the top of a building in Ninjago City with all 4 golden weapons. He fully, like, free bird, spread eagle, dives off the building. It's like, dream on, dream on. He, with all 4 weapons, smacks the Great Devourer in the weak spot, and the Great Devourer explodes into a bunch of green goo. Badass. Anyway, they find Wu, but not Pythor, but they do find Wu, because the Great Devourer explodes. Wu survived. Yay. Garmadon also disappears again, and now he actually has all 4 fucking golden weapons. And they're like, well, that sucks, but it's what we had to do. And literally for like a lot of the future seasons, the ninja constantly get clowned on for this. They're like, we're heroes. And everybody's like, you didn't even stop the Great Devourer. Garmadon did. Anyway, season 1, badass. Season 2, also pretty good. Season 2 is, I lied. Season 2 is one of the worst seasons, but it's worth noting that season 2 was supposed to be the last season. Whenever they greenlit the show, they greenlit it for 2 seasons, and so the team behind it thought that this was the last season. So what they called it was Legacy of the Green Ninja. It focused on setting up the final conflict between the Green Ninja and Lord Garmadon, right? So their training, it focuses on the ninja training Lloyd, and on Garmadon being a fucking menace. And the first, 8 episodes are very episodic. The episodes follow a basic format of this, right? Garmadon now has the 4 golden weapons. He gets the remaining 4 snake tribes, the Hypnobrai, the Fangpires, the Constricti, basically all the Serpentine except for Pythor. He gets them together and is like, look, you just had bad leadership. Stick with me. We're going to rule Ninjago because I have all 4 golden weapons and we're going to punk on those ninjas. So he takes it to a place called the Golden Peaks, which is the only place hot enough for the golden weapons to be forged. It's where they were forged by the first Spinjitzu master in the first place. He melts them down and turns them into one big staff kind of weapon called the Mega Weapon. And he tries to use it to destroy the ninja and very quickly finds out that he cannot use it to destroy things. Because it is made with the 4 weapons of creation, he can only use it to create. And even though he is strong enough to wield all 4 weapons at once, it drains him very badly. So whenever he makes a wish to create, it drains his power, so he can only use it once a day. So for the first 8 episodes, the basic formula is Garmadon tries to create something to stop the ninja. It fails. Next episode. Something interesting to note about these episodes, though, is that when Garmadon is trying to stop the ninja, he is only trying to destroy the core 4. Whenever it comes to Lloyd, he doesn't want to destroy Lloyd. Remember, he was a good person that was bit by an evil snake that made him evil, and he kind of retains his love for his son, which I find very interesting. Some other things that happen on the ninja side, they meet a character named Masako. Masako is Garmadon's wife and Lloyd's mother. The reason I sound annoyed by this fucking bitch, this is how they meet her. They're going to a trip in a museum and just happen to bump into her. To Lloyd's mother. They do explain in the first and second seasons that the place Lloyd has been for the 10 years that Garmadon was trapped in the underworld was in a place called Darkley's boarding school for bad boys. Now, when you hear the name Darkly's boarding school for bad boys, you may think, oh, like a boarding school, like to take bad children, like miscreant children, and try to like instill like goodness in them, like whip them into shape, you know, because that's what a fucking boarding school is. No, Darkly's boarding school for bad boys is a place for evil children to go to learn how to be more evil. So let's clear this shit up real quick. Lloyd's dad gets banished. His mother, who is not evil, a perfectly normal woman, just vanishes from his life and sends him to a boarding school to learn how to be evil. Misako, fuck you. Anyway, they bump into her at this museum, and Lloyd's like, but Mom, how could you do this? How could you leave me on my own for all these years? And Misako's like, you don't understand, son. I knew you were going to be the Green Ninja, so I've spent the last 10 years researching ancient ruins and texts to learn how to circumvent the final conflict between you and your father so you don't have to fight your dad. And if you're thinking, wow, what a bullshit reason to abandon your child, that's not how the ninjas see it. They're literally all immediately like, oh, that makes sense. And Lloyd's like, okay, I forgive you, Mom. Like, bitch, no, she abandoned you and sent you to a boarding school to learn how to be evil. Literally in later seasons of the show, also like in seasons like 8, 9, and 10, Lloyd is on Garmadon's ass for abandoning him as a child. Garmadon got banished. He did not abandon you. Misako literally fucking abandoned you, and you forgave her immediately. Rant over. Anyways. So they go to this museum, they find this giant, like, stone warrior thing. Some great devourer venom gets on it, and it animates it and makes it come alive, and they fight it, and it's, like, invincible, and they only fight it by pushing it down a big hole in the museum. The plot points in season 2 were fucking stupid. That was the plot of the episode where he meets his mom. Big stone guy, big stone statue, gets hit with great devourer venom, comes alive, they realize that it's invulnerable, and so they push it down big hole. That's in a museum. Why is there a big hole in a museum? Fuck if I know. Anyway, so it's very episodic from here on out. There's like an episode where Garmadon uses the mega weapon to create an army of pirates to destroy the ninja. And there's one where he uses it to create like a bunch of other stuff, like weapons. And he uses it to create his own Destiny's Bounty, which was the ninja's flying pirate ship for a lot of seasons. He uses it to create a bunch of dumb stuff to try and beat the ninja. Hijinks ensue, but notably, he never wants to destroy Lloyd. Again, Garmadon is a better parent than Misako ever was. Anyways, Misako's also a cheating bitch and a skank-ass hoe, but we'll get into that later. No, we're going to get into it now, actually, because throughout these seasons, when Garmadon's evil, and Misako is with the ninja, Misako is like, hey, Woo, it should have been you that I married. And they're like smooching and making lovey-dovey eyes at each other. And it's like, look, I know Garmadon's evil, but first of all, Garmadon is ancient. Garmadon and Woo are thousands of years old, and Misako is a regular human. Meaning that Misako was a regular human when she married Garmadon. And actually, in season 4, goes into how they fell in love. So we know for a fact Garmadon was evil and Misako was regular when they fell in love. So I know Garmadon is evil and isn't really, like, there for you. That does not give you the right to make all lovey-dovey eyes at his fucking brother in front of your son, who is his dad's brother. Like, you are literally cheating. Your child is right there. You abandon your child for 10 years. Your child miraculously forgives you for that. And in response, you cheat on your child's dad in front of him with said child's uncle? Misako, you skank asshole! Oh my god. The fandom really hates Misako, and for good reason. Anyways. God. Anyways. God, I fucking hate Misako. Anyways. God, we're like an hour into this, and I'm on season 2. Okay, we gotta start flying. There is one other really important episode that comes into play in later seasons, and it's an episode where Garmadon uses the Mega Weapon to travel back in time. He literally says, okay, I can't destroy my son, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to travel back in time and change the events of the past so that the ninja never come into contact with Lloyd. Like, I'm going to change events so that Lloyd never becomes the Green Ninja. So he goes back into time into the pilot season, like when Kai is first being trained. And he tries to stop Nia from being kidnapped, is his play, right? The ninja managed to follow him back, not Lloyd, the Core 4 ninja managed to follow him back into the past with a cryptic warning from Wu. If you change the past, you change everything. And so they go back and they're going to try really hard to stop the Garmadon from changing the past. So the first thing he tries to do is stop Nia from being kidnapped, and this leads into a really weird thing with Kai where he's like, well, obviously I don't fucking want to kidnap my sister, but like, I've got to. So like, Kai helps orchestrate the kidnapping of Nia in the past. Keep things moving along. Garmadon tries to do a bunch of things to basically stop the ninja from getting the golden weapons. And the ninja stop him from doing that. But something that they notably also do is they launch the mega weapon into space. I don't remember how they do this. I think maybe he just threw it. No, that's not true. I think they used the golden weapons from the past, and because like they get like volatile when they're all together, I think they used like the strength of more than 4 golden weapons to like blast the mega weapon into space, because the mega weapon was forged with the original 4 weapons. They blast the mega weapon into fucking space. They make sure that the ninja in the past get the golden weapons from the past, and then they all go back to the present. So they end up creating this weird alternate timeline. The plot of season 2 is so fucking stupid. They create this weird alternate timeline where nobody remembers the mega weapon. So the first 8 episodes where Garmadon has been using the mega weapon to do all this bullshit, nobody but the Core 4 remembers it, because they're the only ones that time traveled. Oh, Garmadon remembers it. But like Lloyd, they mentioned the mega weapon in a later season, and Lloyd is literally like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Top tier writing. Anyway, so Garmadon loses the oh, there's also an episode before this where Garmadon uses the mega weapon to reanimate a dinosaur called a Grundle. This dinosaur's only purpose was to hunt down Ninja. So, like I said, the fucking plot of season 2 is all over the place. But anyway, in this episode, another thing that is really fucking wild is when Garmadon uses the mega weapon to bring the skeleton back to life, the Core 4 ninja get hit in this blast, and so as it reverses time on the skeleton, it also reverses time for the ninja. And the Core 4 ninja get turned into babies. Not babies, but like children. And they eventually do undo it, but when they undo it, it's like a thing where it's like an all or nothing. And so the Core 4 are like, Lloyd, if you do this, it means you're going to lose your childhood. And so when they do it, Lloyd becomes a full grown-ass man. Lloyd literally goes from 12 to like 18 immediately, and that's why he uses an adult minifigure for most of the series, is because he magically gets turned into an adult. And then later, the mega weapon gets destroyed in an alternate, or not destroyed, but launched into space into an alternate timeline. And so Lloyd doesn't remember the mega weapon, which means there's this weird implication where Lloyd just like remembers being zapped forward in age, but doesn't remember the circumstances that led to it. It's really weird. You would think that the alternate timeline would make Lloyd turn back into a kid, but whatever. Again, the writing of season 2 is all over the place. Again, they thought that this was the last season. The last 4 episodes was their attempt at making an actual plot line. Very ham-fisted. Basically, Garmadon, I don't remember why or how he does this, but he goes to a place called the Dark Island. So here's... the insane lore drop they give for the last 4 episodes. So Ninjago, like the land that they're in, is shaped like half of the yin yang symbol. I'm trying to kind of draw it with my finger. It's like kind of a round thing with a little tail, like a comma, basically, right? And then he goes to this dark island, which is like really fucking small. And he awakens something called, well, he doesn't know that it's called the Overlord, but it's called the Overlord. And it's just this like purple glowing thing that's like, yeah, Garmadon, I can give you the ultimate power of evil. And he basically makes Garmadon take a helmet off of this clock thing and put it on. And when you wear this helmet, first of all, it starts the clock. And the clock is a countdown timer to that prophesied final battle between good and evil. The prophecy that they saw in season 1 about the Green Ninja. So now that this timer has started, there is now a matter of days before that legendary fight between Lloyd and his father is going to take place. And again, Garmadon doesn't want this fight to happen. He doesn't want to destroy his son. But there's evil in his blood that compels him to do the evil thing and start this timer. The second thing that the thing does, when he puts that helmet on, it gives him full control of the stone army. Remember the sentient stone guy from earlier that they pushed down a big hole that are invulnerable? That helmet lets him control a whole army of those guys. They're completely invulnerable. So the ninja are like, we gotta go stop Garmadon. Let's go. Oh, and also when he does it, the Dark Island turns from an itty-bitty island to a big island that is also shaped like the other half of a yin-yang. And so it's like 2 islands shaped like a yin-yang that form all of Ninjago. So there's like what they knew as Ninjago proper, and then the Dark Island. And they drop some lore that basically way before Wu and Garmadon were born, like a little bit after the first Spinjitzu master created Ninjago, he created it as one big circle. But after he created it, the nature of the balance between good and evil dictated that an evil force would rise to meet him, which is where the Overlord comes from. And the first Spinjitzu master couldn't beat him, so he just like split Ninjago in half and like trapped the Overlord on the Dark Island, and the regular other side was free to just be normal. So that's the kind of ham-fisted lore they threw in there. Anyway, so the Overlord is like evil incarnate. Garmadon is now being like coached by this disembodied voice of the Overlord to, they're mining up dark matter, and Garmadon doesn't even know what it's for. We're just going to skip through shit. The ninja go there. They can't beat the stone army. They find this thing called the Temple of Light that I think the first Spinjitzu master built. I don't remember. They find these cool elemental weapons that give them elemental powers back, because they lost the Spinjitzu weapons because they launched the mega weapon into space in the past. So these weapons like let them make like fire blasts and earth blasts and stuff like that, and they're really cool. And then they end up finding a different temple where they can like put the elemental blades in like keys, and then Lloyd can like jump up and kick a big bell, and then it gives him special golden creation powers, and he becomes the golden ninja of creation. Very cool. Not really. Anyway, so the ninja have no powers, no elemental powers, because they gave it to Lloyd so that he could have the golden power. And they get ready for the final conflict, yada, yada, yada. They actually try to avoid the conflict by stopping that countdown timer. They fail, it hits 0, and the conflict has begun, except that what Garmadon didn't know is that the Overlord was manipulating him and used the dark matter to... It was a bug. Used the dark matter to possess Garmadon and became... Ooh, there's a big bug. There's like an ant. Anyway. I'm going to look up a picture of Garmadon possessed by the Overlord and send it to you later, because it's so fucking cursed. It's not a minifigure. All the characters are Lego people, except when Garmadon gets possessed by the Overlord. For some reason, they made him this really, like, shitty-looking CGI lizard. It looks really bad. Anyway, so the Overlord possesses Garmadon's body. so he can have a physical form again, and is fighting Lloyd, the Golden Ninja. And Lloyd also doesn't want to fight his dad. He's like, Father, I know you are in there. Fight it, Father. And like you can see Garland like, no, I won't fight my son. Or like, yeah, yes, we will. I'm going to pause because I need a drink. I'm back with a drink. Crisp cherry Pepsi. Anyway. All this shit happens. Lloyd doesn't really want to fight his dad. They smack each other around. And then, like, he goes from this weird CGI lizard to a big, weird CGI dragon. And flies with the Stone Army to Ninjago City. The Stone Army starts attacking Ninjago City. And this giant Overlord dragon is on top of a big tower, like, rah! A bunch of stuff happens. Lloyd uses the golden power to summon a golden dragon and beats the Overlord and destroys him. And the Stone Army, their plot line wraps off. Oh, I need to talk about an amazing side character that gets introduced in Season 2. Earlier in the weird part of Season 2, the monastery got destroyed in Season 1, and they don't have the Destiny's Bounty. So they end up renting an apartment in Ninjago City for most of Season 2. And to train Lloyd to be the Green Ninja, they use a dojo that is owned by a guy named Dareth. And Dareth is like this like suave guy. He's got a big gold necklace. He looks like an Elvis impersonator, but he has a dojo with a lot of fake karate trophies. I've been talking so long. You can see through my window. Hang on. I guess you can see through my window. I've been talking so long. It's dark outside now. Anyway, they use this dojo, and Dareth is like, he thinks he's a ninja. He's actually not that good at martial arts. All his trophies are fake, but he thinks he's the Brown Ninja, and he constantly calls himself the Brown Ninja. He is genuinely the funniest character in the whole series. He's great. Anyway, Lloyd uses the Golden Dragon to stop the Overlord while the ninja try to fend off the Stone Warriors. But the person who actually beats the Stone Warriors is Dareth. He like randomly finds that helmet that controls them, puts it on, and just tells them all to stop and go home. So that's how that wraps up. Again, Season 2 is fucking stupid. Lloyd defeats the Overlord. He turns into a bunch of goo. Season 2 ends. There's nothing else of note in Season 2 except for one major thing. Well, two major things. First of all, the entire cast knows that Nia is Samurai X now, although notably, Nia takes up a kind of babysitter role for a lot of this season. She watches over Lloyd when he's still like a little kid before he gets age jumped forward. There is a bit in one of the episodes where Garmadon has the mega weapon, and I just want to talk about it because it's maybe my favorite joke in the entire series. So Garmadon, like, recruits the Serpentine as his army for the first half of the season. And whenever they realize what the mega weapon can do, he asks his Serpentine army for suggestions on what to do with the mega weapon, on what to wish for. And this one Serpentine guy is like, what about a ham sandwich? And Garmadon's like a poisoned ham sandwich? And the snake goes, I should hope not. I'm really hungry. I really fuck with that Serpentine. He just wanted a big ham sandwich. And that is so me-coded. I love that guy. Anyway. I might take a break and talk about the next few seasons in a different video because this is going on really long. But I do want to talk about another plot point that I kind of forgot about that happens in Season 1, and it's called True Potential. Reaching their true potential is basically just like they learn what they really were for, like they push back everything that was holding them back and unlock their like elemental powers. And again, this is when they have the golden weapons. And there's some episodes in Season 1 that are dedicated to each ninja finding out their true potential. Jay Notably, for a lot of the pilot in the first season, a big character trait of his is that he has a big crush on Kai's sister, Nia. And his true potential is he takes Nia to a date to the carnival, and the whole time is like trying to be cool and pretend that because he's like kind of awkward and nerdy. So he's trying to kind of pretend to be someone cooler than he is to impress Nia. He's like, did you know I invented spinjitzu? And like all this other stuff. And his true potential comes in when he kind of decides, like, man, pretending to be this person for Nia doesn't really make sense. I should just be myself. I should just like who I am and hope that she likes me too. And when he does it, he unlocks his true potential and like glows and flies and can shoot lightning from his hands and gets a bunch of superpowers that never get brought up again. All of the ninja go through this. Cole goes through this whenever he admits to his dad that he doesn't want to be a dancer. He wants to be a ninja. Zane's is the most interesting, and that's actually why I wanted to bring this back up. Do you remember in the pilot season when I mentioned that they describe Zane as a little weird, but with a mystical sixth sense? For a lot of the first season, he has this like raven, and he just like felt this mystical connection to it. And whenever he followed it, it led him to where he felt he needed to be. And so there's this time when there's a really great episode when the other ninja are laughing and joking around, and they kind of make fun of Zane like they do a lot. And Zane doesn't get the joke because he's autistic. And Zane goes outside the monastery and sees this bird. And this bird flies off, and Zane follows it. But when the ninja, after making fun of him, realize that Zane's gone, they feel really bad. They're like, oh, it wasn't fair for us to make fun of Zane like that. You know, he's our brother. We love him. And it's not really fair of us to make fun of him like that just because he's a little different. Because at the end of the day, we really love him. And even though us making fun of him isn't good fun, Zane doesn't get that. And he really just wants to be accepted by us. And now we really hurt him and he left. We need to go find him and we need to go apologize. And so the four ninja go set out to find him. And Zane ends up in this like snowy birch forest. And he eventually finds the crow that he was following had like fallen, and he picks it up and it's like sparking and like twitching, and he opens it and it's a robot. It's like a mechanical bird. And he's like, huh, that is strange. And the tree that it fell by has a panel, and he like kind of like his mystical sixth sense tells him to push on it, and a secret panel opens in the tree with a staircase leading into this weird like mechanical workshop. And I will never forget this episode of season 1. It's one of the best episodes because Zane's looking at it like, no. And then it cuts to commercial break and has like this big suspenseful thing. And the ninja eventually find it. And when they find him, he's like crushed. He's sitting there. And Zane explains to him that what he found were the blueprints to how he was built. Zane is a robot. The reason he has no memories is because his memory switch was flipped off. And the reason he never gets any of the other ninjas' jokes is because his humor switch was flipped off. He flips it back on and like immediately goes into like comedic song and dances like, hello, my baby, hello, my darling. It's really funny. But he's kind of like having this existential crisis where he's like, I am not what I thought. This mystical sixth sense was just like, I have scanners in my mechanical brain that are telling me stuff. Realizing that he's not human, that the reason he was never able to connect with his friends the way he wanted to was that he wasn't a person like they were. And so the ninja kind of like leave him to reckon with this. And they go outside and there's all these monsters, and they start trying to fight these monsters and they can't. They like are very quickly getting overwhelmed. And Zane comes out and he faces these monsters and he has this like brilliant moment of like, it doesn't matter that I'm a robot. It doesn't matter that I have a humor switch and a memory switch. My friends like me. They consider me a brother. They love me for who I am. They have told me that this doesn't change what I am to them. And despite the fact I'm a machine, I'm a good ninja. I'm the master of ice. my worth is not defined by this. It, like, really, like, he reconciles the fact, like, yes, I'm different, and I'm okay with that. I choose to take power in that and not be ashamed of it and not let it hold me back. And he reaches his true potential and, like, fully freezes everything around him, and it's awesome. And the reason I love this episode so much is because obviously Zane from the pilot was very autistic coded, right? He didn't pick up on social cues. He, like, the mystic sixth sense was very likened to, like, that trope with autistic characters, like the good doctor, where it's like, oh, they don't get social things, but they're genius in other ways, right? And at first, and autistic people being robots is kind of a trope in fantasy, right? And it's really lame when people do it. But in a lot of other media, it's lame because they introduce the character as a robot and say that, like, make it the whole reason. But first of all, Zane was not written as a robot. This was something they decided after the pilot season. Second of all, I really do think the way they handled his story fits, because it's this thing of, like, they can't come out and say he's autistic. This show is releasing in, like, 2012. They can't straight up come out and say this, but they have a really beautiful plot line of, like, my friends don't dance around the fact that I'm different. They know that. They'll make fun of me for it the same way they make fun of each other. And I know that it's in good faith. And my, like, arc is resolved by, like, knowing that they love me and having the self-confidence to deal with that and reconciling that what I am is what I am and I'm okay with that. And so I think it works really well. Yeah, Zane's a great character. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop because this is like an hour and 20 minutes long. We will pick up with seasons 3 through, I'll probably do 3 through 7, because there's kind of different eras to Ninjago. And the pilot and the first 2 seasons, I feel like, are the first era because they thought that it was going to end after this season 2. But we will come back with seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, as well as the movie special called Day of the Departed for the next era. All right, I'm going to go upload this and then start recording the second video.